Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I'm so excited for you to listen to this next interview that we have. If you are not feeling energized and motivated, you need to listen to this because my good friend Kacia is here to shed some light on why you need to go after whatever's on your heart. And I'm just so excited to have her. Her energy is contagious. You will definitely feel uplifted after listening to this. So make sure you stay all the way till the end. Kacia, welcome to the podcast.
Tony, I am so freaking pumped to be here. I'm so excited to chat about all the things and just light a little fire under anybody's booty who needs a little motivational oomph to get going. We're gonna give them that today. So thank you for having me.
Oh no, thank you so much. Also, if you guys have seen my posts recently and like kind of comments about how I want to do a swimsuit line, this girl is actually the person who planted that idea into my head. So here's what I'm excited to talk about today too, not to jump. We're going to have you introduce yourself in a second, but like, I think so many people have ideas, but not everybody follows through with them. So when you put that on my heart, like I didn't even know that was something that I needed to do. But then I know I need to do it. And so I just want to say thank you for even giving me that permission slip, because I am going to follow through on that because it is something that is so needed, which is a body positive swimsuit line. And your idea, you were just like, when we were having a conversation on the bus, we were in an mastermind together, and she was like, would you ever think about doing like a physical product? And I was like, I don't know, because like food, it's so like everyone's like has different needs, and like I don't really want to do like bars. And she's like, no, I meant like a clothing line or like body positive swimsuits or something. I was like, let me think about that.
It's so funny. It's such an important thing to like be around people that are going to support us for sure. Right. And having an environment of people around us that support us, but also people that are like willing to challenge us a little bit. Right. And we can do that for each other, all of us as women in general. But I think it's like that. The reason why it hit home with you is because you're the person that's supposed to do it. Yeah, right. And
really, I think though.
So often, like, even just to the women that are listening into this episode, it's like, we have this like vision and this like gut feeling of something that we want to do, that maybe we need someone to spark that light in us, but we often do actually know what it is, but we shove it down because we know that then we're going to have to step out into the unfamiliar, right? Or like to do something that we're scared to do. And we don't know if we're going to be capable of it. Or we know that when we start something new, we're not very good at it because we don't know how. And so we stay stuck because we think that's going to be more comfortable. But then it's like, you can only shove down that feeling for so long until it like comes back up and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, and it always resurfaces. And I think it also has to do with who you surround yourself with. Like not everybody, a lot of people kind of live a certain life in a different way, and they don't really, they almost like choose to not listen to their intuition. And so it's so hard for us to be that one person in the group that like really feels like they're meant for more. And then not feel like they have like people, they don't see it. Cause if you can't see it, you can't believe it. It's really hard. So you can, but like, it's a lot harder too. But we're definitely going to come back to this. I'm so excited. So I knew we were going to jam out just fine, but let's have you introduce yourself. The first question I always ask my guests to answer, it's 3 parts. So it's to introduce yourself by sharing who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do what you do.
Yeah. Ooh. So who I am is a woman who is literally just trying to figure it out in real time, being really transparent about the process and getting obsessed with the process rather than what the process could produce in everything that I do. I happen to be a podcaster. I happen to own a company. I'm in a long-term relationship of 13 years. I'm an adventure enthusiast. I'm the girl that's going to talk to you in the elevator. I'm an outgoing extrovert, all of these things. But really, I just feel deeply called to be this person who recognizes that we are all living, breathing proof of what's possible for another person. And I want to be someone who is just so myself that it's giving people the permission slip to give to themselves to be more themselves too, right? Like, I think so often in the world that we live in, there's a lot of people that hide behind carefully curated content on social media or hide behind these expectations of what we quote unquote should be doing at a certain age or what we quote unquote should be doing as women. And I kind of just want to be this type of person that just stirs the pot a little bit. Not in a negative way, but more so in a way of like, I'm just going to be more me and hope that that shows other people that it's a really fun way to go through life. So I'm a life enthusiast through and through, and I'm a CEO of a company, which means I'm constantly challenging myself to grow to the next level. And it's so uncomfortable, which means anyone that's building a business or working on any goals in their life can connect with this, where when you're pushing towards goals and you're someone who's very growth minded, like you're constantly trying to evolve to that next level, which means you are sometimes on your bathroom floor having an ugly cry with your snot and your mascara getting together all up in your mouth and you feel like you suck. And then an hour later, you feel like you're on top of the world and unstoppable. And I'm a person who's just really open about dancing that dance. And I think a lot of women will be able to connect with my story that I graduated college and I went to get the corporate job. And because we know that we're a byproduct of, the people that we surround ourselves with, but we're also a byproduct of the expectations of the people that we surround ourselves with. So a lot of my girlfriends from college, we all got these jobs and we started working our way up the corporate ladder. And for me, I always felt like there was something more for me, not meaning that being an entrepreneur is more than not, right? Like working in the corporate world is really fulfilling for a lot of people. But for me, I really wanted more alignment. But I was trying to shove down that feeling because everything on paper made sense. Right? Like I had this great job. I had great career trajectory by a lot of other people's standards. Like it was an ideal situation that I was in, but it didn't feel great for me. And so I constantly was trying things on the side of my full-time job to try and figure out like what would be the right fit for me, which led me down this entrepreneurship path where now I'm a podcaster and I have a business where I help women launch podcasts and I help women that are just getting started in business to really figure out what it is that sparks them and help them with tangible tools to take action. And why I do it is because I know what it feels like to feel like you're stuck and you're confused of what's the next best thing for you to do and how uncomfortable it feels when you know that you're meant to do more and you're the one that's standing in your own way because you're worried what everybody else thinks about you, or you're worried about, giving up this good situation that you're in and going for great because you're so uncomfortable with the unfamiliar. So I'm just really passionate about helping women get their voices and their messages and get the dreams that are on their heart out into the world because we don't know how much time we have here. And I actually lost 2 friends at age 30. And it's a constant reminder. It's of course devastating, but it's also a constant reminder and fuel source for me that like we often do say someday, but like our days are numbered and we don't know the number. So we've got to show up and make it count. We've got to get more obsessed with the process. And that's kind of why I do what I do.
Yeah, no, it's so incredible. And also like, guys, I don't think you understand, I think you can understand just by her speaking right now. But like, you also have this ability to connect with so many people. Your podcast recently had got 4 million downloads, and it's not because it's fluff. Okay. It's because it's real, it's honest, it's vulnerable. I really do believe, virality comes from positive and negative. I really, it's either you're really, really good or you're really, really shitty. And that's how things go viral. That's truly what I think. Yeah. But for her, for you, it's good, it's honest, it's raw, it's real. And I do appreciate and thank you so much for your transparency, because even whether you're an entrepreneur or not, life does have ups and downs. There are gigantic roller coaster rides. And I kind of do want to circle back to that because it's so much easier to kind of see what you could have done, like hindsight's 2020, right? So like when you're having a really shitty day, when you're in a good mindset, it's so much easier to do like positive affirmations and like everything's going to be okay. But like when you're in those lows, it's harder to see that. So if you wouldn't mind, can you kind of shed some light on like, what do you do when you're really feeling like down? Like you almost like don't see a way out. You almost wonder like if it's worth it, if you should kind of go back, whether that's in with your health journey, your fitness journey, your entrepreneurial journey, and you're really questioning if what you're doing is worth it at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. I love this question because I think we just have to normalize that that's actually part of it. Nobody is exempt from feeling like crap sometimes, or feeling like they're not capable, or telling themselves like really crappy stories that they're not worthy, or they're never going to get where they want to go in their health journey and whatever it is that they're working on. We all have those moments. And so I think it's almost like sometimes we want to say something's quote unquote wrong with us if we have a moment like that. But in reality, I welcome all emotions, just open arms, where I'm like, sometimes I'm going to feel crappy. Sometimes I'm going to feel on top of the world. Sometimes I'll feel anxious. Sometimes I'll feel angry. Those are all just part of being human. And we think that we want to be happy all the time. But I think what we want is the full human experience, which means we actually do want the contrast. And I have never learned anything when it's rainbows, butterflies, and happy little unicorns. I learn character and grit and build resilience when it's tough. And I've got to figure out a way to get myself back up off the ground and keep going. So much so that like, I actually kind of crave failing or stumbling a little bit, because I know what it's building is this resilience that I'm going to need to keep going when life throws curveballs. Because it's almost like when you've fallen down enough times, or you feel like you've stumbled and just made a lot of mistakes, it starts to feel more normal standing up and just being in that motion than it does staying down. Right. And for me, when I'm in that moment, I'm reminding myself that this is still going to serve me, but also that I'm allowed to feel annoyed. I'm allowed to feel frustrated. I'm allowed to have an off day. Like, it's called being a human. Like, welcome to the club. There's 7 billion of us. But I'm very, very careful about labeling the space between where I am now and where I want to go with something that actually serves me. And that is helped me stay steadfast and consistent in podcasting and business, but even in my health journey, right? Because it's so easy to think of like where you want to be and have this goal. And I think it's important to have goals that you're working toward, because as humans, we love progress and we want to be making moves in the right direction. But if there's a big space between where you are now and where you want to go, it's easy to label that as overwhelming. Am I ever going to get there? To ask yourself really crappy questions and get really crappy answers and just feel like, ugh, and so frustrated. And that's very human, but we've got to get intentional. And I like to label that space as like growth opportunity. And I like to think about the version of me who's going to get where I want to go, who's going to look back at the path that I took towards getting there and be like, damn, look how far you've come. Look how proud you are, because of you're the only one that knows how much work you had to put in, not just in terms of like getting your workouts in and eating really well, but more so the mindset to keep going when you feel like you got off track. And that's why I love what you're all about and what your podcast is about too, because it's reminding people to like normalize that this is a journey. This is a lifestyle. It's not linear to get where you want to go. It's like we're humans that are trying to just navigate, humaning in general. Yeah. So it's like, if you're having an off moment, girl, we've all been there. It's like the difference between you and someone who's accomplished the thing that you want to accomplish is they're just getting back up. Right. And they're not beating themselves up and spiraling downwards when they're down. They just recognize that's part of being human.
Amazing. I love what you said. Of all that, what I heard and what I think is going to help me, because guys, I have down, we all have down, we're human beings. And I've been more open, actually more recently. I've been really struggling with anxiety, although it is getting better due to tapping meditation. I feel like it's a life changer, but sidebar, but all I have to say, like, I kind of asked that question for me too, because that's in a season where I'm in right now. It's a lot of ups and downs, especially when you're expanding in business. Like I also, like, not to get off topic, but listen, being an entrepreneur is freaking hard, and not for nothing. The beginning is actually the easiest part. And I know that's probably really hard to hear right now, because some of you are probably struggling just to get started. Yeah. But if you then decide that once you're started and you kind of get to this place where you're now burnt out because you did all the work to get there, and then you're deciding like you want to scale, like it's almost like starting over. So I guess maybe starting is the hardest part, like because I feel like when you scale, you're like feeling like you're starting over. Like that's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm like brand new. I feel like I'm brand new to business. I feel like I'm a brand new entrepreneur.
Oh my gosh, Tony, this is
hard.
But this is what everybody needs to hear, because here's the interesting part. We know, and I know you talk about this all the time, but we know not to compare ourselves to other people. But the trickiest part, which comes up in entrepreneurship, and it comes up definitely in health goals. I know there's probably lots of moms that listen into this podcast where you're in a completely different season of life, or you're navigating anxiety, or you're navigating grief. Remember, like, even change means loss. So you're also grieving what you once used to know. And we know not to compare ourselves to other people. But what just came up for me when I hear that is like, oh my gosh, I connect with it so much because I actually don't struggle as much with comparing myself to other people. I struggle with comparing myself to a prior version of myself when the circumstances were different. Right. So like my last corporate job was way back in 2015 when I worked at Google. And when I left and moved into full-time entrepreneurship, I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I'm so like, I have no schedule, like, which sounds really fun, but it's also like a lot to like unpack. Right. And I was comparing myself back to a job that when I first started the job, I wasn't very good at, but as we want to get better at something, we put our reps in. I was comparing myself to the great version rather than this brand new season of it, the beginning person. Right. And so it's that reminder of like, if you're in a new season, and I know that there's someone who's like driving down the freeway right now and you need to hear this. If you're in a completely different season of life right now, please stop comparing yourself to when the circumstances were different. Your success criteria for what winning the day looks like when you're navigating postpartum depression or you're navigating new anxiety or you're really growing or you're changing career paths or your kids just went to school or you're pregnant or like something's going on in your world. Please stop comparing what success looks like for you now, because back then the situation was completely different. So you're literally setting yourself up to fail, right? So it's like you being new to this level is like being a rookie again. And nobody likes to feel like they're struggling. Like, it's not fun.
It's jinx. It's literally not fun. But I love what you said earlier about what you're trying to do and teach is to learn to love the process. Because everyone is, and I talk about that in my book and just in life and just like it's your lifestyle, right? So you got to love the whole thing because otherwise you're going to be miserable all the time. But all I say, because that's it. It's the process. If you don't love the process, you're going to be forever disappointed with your progress. I say that all the time. And like, I think that, when it comes to like enjoying things, like to realize that it's not going to be the thing that you're chasing that makes you happy, right? It has to be like you being okay with like the now and the uncomfortable and kind of learning to figure it out.
Well, we think that we want the goal, right? To accomplish that thing and get that shiny accolade or like say, woo, we did it. But we really actually want the feeling that we think that we're going to have from accomplishing that goal, right?
Totally.
So like whenever I'm talking with women through the podcast or, you know, whatever, through my company, I'm always reminding them that like the real secret sauce, in my opinion, is if we think about everything, whether it's entrepreneurship or your health and fitness goals, it doesn't matter, where your relationships, anything, everything is confidence building. The goal, the root is to build confidence so that you have the belief in yourself that you can figure it out. And I like to think of confidence like it's like a bucket where every single time that you show up and you keep a promise to yourself, whether it's you're doing that meditation, you're moving your body, you're not beating yourself up off of like having a piece of candy, you're, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, every single time that you keep a promise to yourself, you do the thing that you said that you're going to do after the feeling that you said it and is gone. It's like you're putting a deposit into that bucket. So it's like plop, 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 putting all these deposits in. So when someone says, oh, like your dreams are stupid, or, oh, you shouldn't do that, or, oh, it's never going to work out, or, oh, whatever they say to you, because you're a human, it feels like somebody smacked the side of your bucket. Right. And you're frustrated by that. And some of your confidence sloshes out because we're not robots. Like we do care what people think. It's just about caring what we think most and understanding that every single time that we're working toward a goal, the real secret sauce of it is to think about it like, what is the opportunity that I have for myself to build confidence today? Can I drink 100 ounces of water today and just keep that promise to myself? Can I text someone that I love every single day and just keep that promise to myself? Can I move my body? Can I start to ask myself better questions? Like all of those are little confidence building things so that when you do get off track, which you will, when you doubt yourself, when you have to be the beginner at something again, it's like you can lean back on that confidence and be like, okay, it sucks right now, but I believe that I can figure it out. And you know that for yourself, which is why you're able to navigate through these anxious thoughts that you're in, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I've done hard things before. I can handle this, right?
100%. And like exactly what you just said, it comes from repetition. Confidence comes from the follow through. It doesn't come from like doing the thing. It comes from consistently doing the thing, right? And saying you're going to do something and following through with it. And I think that's why, within in the dietitian community, and like even what I'm sure what you help your clients with and the people in your community, it's like you'll become a better podcaster the more you podcast. You'll become, better in the gym the more you work out and go to the gym. You'll get better at eating more balanced meals and trusting your body by allowing your body to be trusted. Like there's so many components that you have to give it time. And you just posted something recently. I think you were talking on your stories about kind of like this rush to like have it all figured out really quickly, as if that's like what makes you successful. But no, because then you're missing the lesson. And when you said, you gave those examples before, like the next time guys, you could do this with me, because the next time I'm in like that shitty place and like that down place where I like doubt everything and the self-doubt creeps in, all I'm going to say to myself is there's a lesson in this.
Yeah.
There is a lesson in this. So anytime you're feeling down, guys, I hope that by listening to Kacia, you're understanding that there's a lesson in it. So you just have to be patient enough to allow that lesson to come through.
Yeah. I'm always asking myself, like, how can I grow through this? How can I grow through what I go through? Right. And Tony, I love what you just mentioned of this idea of like wanting it all right now too. This has been on my heart so much, where, I help a lot of women that are in the podcasting space. And I asked I was on a group call with a bunch of women, and I was like, how many of you guys would love to have like 1 million downloads on your podcast this month? And the chat's blowing up. They're like, yeah, Kacia, like, woo, me. And I was like, interesting. I wouldn't. I don't want that yet. The key word is yet, because I actually know that I'm not yet the woman who can handle that amount of ears on me, because I've got confidence for where I'm at now. But in order for me to get where I want to go, I'm actually qualifying myself in the process to be able to handle it. So if I got it all now, it would spontaneously combust. I wouldn't be able to show up the way that I want to. I don't have the back end of my business and that I can give people the support that I can give them now. There's no way I could keep up with that amount of DMs. Like I can just do what I can do right now as I'm learning the skills of how to still be myself, having people listen into me. Like I don't actually want it yet. It's not that I don't want it ever, but it's the same rules apply with like health and fitness goals. You think you want that like quote unquote ideal body, whatever you put in your head of whatever that is for you. You think you want that now, but truthfully, you want to become the person who has the habits and the behaviors and the identity of being that healthy, active person that you want to be. We got to build those building blocks along the way. So you don't just arrive with it. It's not like a magic genie comes. It's like, poof, I've got this body that I always wanted. You want the habits, and you want the pride of knowing how hard you work to get where you wanted to be. Like you don't want to rob yourself of that.
Totally. Well, then that's where when people do like cosmetic surgery, that it's almost like by choice, not like they needed it because something happened, but like, they're still always unhappy with their body. Like if they got like liposuction, and then this is not to judge anybody who's ever done that, but just like really, guys, to really feel good and confident, it doesn't come from changing the way that you look. We've tried that. We've had makeup, we have Botox, we have like facelifts, we have all the things. Like it really comes from like who you are and how you value what you value and how you view yourself and the things that you do that will really help you to be the person that you wanted to be, feel the way that you want to feel. And it's okay if you do all those outside things, but don't do them expecting that that's going to make you feel whole. If anything, it's going to make you feel more empty.
Yeah. If you don't work on like the vessel of like and you're the only place that you're ever going to live, which is in your own head. Like that's the only thing that we can control is our thoughts.
Our perception of things.
Exactly.
That's why a lot of people, it almost like makes people upset when they see somebody in like a bigger body that's more confident in their body. They almost like don't understand it. And it's because their perception of what acceptance is skewed. And so the second you decide to look at it differently, things change. All you have to do is look at it differently and things are going to change. And that's all that it takes.
Yeah. It's that concept with everything of like, whatever you look for, you're going to find. It's like that self-confirming bias, right? Where like anyone right now listening to this, you could look for all of the ways that you're dropping the ball, all of the things that you're sucking at, all of the places that you feel like you've got flaws. You can do that, or You can look at all of the ways that you are showing up, all of the ways that you're doing the best that you can, all of your strengths, all of the gifts that you were gifted. And I personally am going to choose the latter because I want to feel good every day, right? I want to feel not that I will feel good every single second of every single day, but I want to set myself up to look for good because I know my brain is going to look for evidence to support whatever thoughts that I'm thinking. And it's like, that's why I think the work that you do is so important, Tony, because it's like, especially for women, like we need this reminder constantly of like who created these standards of what things quote unquote should be or what women should be like or should look like or how they should like what all this shoulding like we gotta stop that, right? It's like we get to control the narrative, and it starts with your thoughts, which control your perception, your behaviors, your actions. It all stems from that. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm curious from you, how did you transform into this very like self-aware, what things did you do in your journey to get to where you are today? I know that's like a really big question, but it's just like really, you're just so awesome to talk to. And you're so insightful. And it's just like, I feel like you must have had done some really hard things yourself in order to be able to be this more, newer, better version of you.
I love you. So I grew up having to be pretty self-sufficient because I grew up with someone who had addiction issues. And that's where it stemmed from. From an early age, I understood that I had to believe in my ability to figure things out, and I had to be pretty self-sufficient. And that combined with having this like pure, just like joy for life, worked really well for me from an early age. And then what I really started to do was I recognized there was a season in my life, which for me was back in 2014. I was working in a corporate job at an IT company. I was working with men that were 20 years older than me. I was doing what Brene Brown would say, like hustling for my worthiness. Cause I was definitely, there's a difference between being qualified for your job and like learning, but I was like, I sold myself into this job, like to get this job. And I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So because of that, I was working super, super hard. And I was really just trying to get people to like take me seriously. And what I noticed was coming up was I started to water myself down. I've always had this really big personality. I've been super goofy and outgoing, but this other side of me that's very self-sufficient. And when I started to catch myself watering myself down, trying to feel like I felt like I was like too much for a lot of people in certain situations, I decided to start this side business. So entrepreneurship is honestly what like helped me become more myself, because when I started a side business, I decided this was going to be the outlet where I was going to learn how to be a fully expressed version of me. I wasn't going to be the Kacia that I was at work. I was going to be the Kacia that I was when I'm with my girlfriends or when I'm with my fiance, and I'm just like goofy and weird. And I just decided to slowly start cranking the volume up on that. It wasn't a light switch, which I think a lot of people want a light switch, like, whoa, just turn it on and now I'm going to feel really good. It was like a dimmer switch, I guess is a better way to put it, where I just started to realize my human goal as an entrepreneur is I'm just going to start to slowly show up and be more myself. I remember even when I first started posting on social media, I like posted a picture of a sandwich, a turkey sandwich. And I was so nervous to put myself out there. And now it's like, I can talk about anything on social media, but it's because I've just like really given myself those tiny little steps in the right direction, which has helped me build a lot of confidence. And then now at this point, I feel like not only am I probably unemployable because I'm all over the place, but I also don't know how to not be myself, which means I have to understand that some people are so freaking inspired by that. And some people are so turned off by that. And it's not my job to worry about which way they fall into. So now I kind of go through life where I don't get too high on the positive feedback, which also means I don't then get low on the negative feedback, whether it's from people that know me, like family or friends, or people that I don't know that are strangers on social media or listen into my podcast. It's like, of course, I would much rather hear positive feedback, but I don't let that make it mean anything about me. If the people that know me the best, this is a John Maxwell quote, if the people that know me the best love me the most, that's success, right? And I love that. And so I think like I've just constantly always been on this journey to figure out how to be more me, understanding that that's kind of my mission here. right? Like we even talked about at the beginning, I just feel like I'm someone who's so curious about how to just constantly keep pulling back the layers of who I actually am at my core, because I don't think there's enough examples of women that are doing that. And when you feel that there's a need for it, or it's not being represented as much as you think it should, I think it's because you're supposed to be the representation, right? Which is why Tony, for people that didn't see this, why in our business mastermind, when Tony was talking about this, amazing swim line that hopefully she starts. And if you need an investor, girl, holler at me. But truly, like when you you took off your dress and you had your bathing suit and everyone was standing there like, oh my gosh, you don't see women acting like that and doing that often enough. But because you're so driven towards this mission, right? It's like, it's hard to be what you can't see. You're an example of someone who's doing it. And I feel that same way too. It's just with expression of myself, right?
Yeah. And it's so awesome. Like I feel, and you said something, I think you just posted something too, like do it for you, but do it for her too.
Yeah.
Like that, like elaborate on that, because I think what you're doing, you being you, is giving people permission to be them. You're not saying be like me. Yeah. You're saying be yourself and look what can come from. It's just such a better life than just trying to fit the mold. And like, that's so boring. Yeah. Well, like it's so exhausting to try to be somebody else.
Yeah. It's like, it's so funny. We think that it's like hard to go through life in general, which it is sometimes, but like, it's way more exhausting if you're trying to act like what you think you should. Cause they're like, then people that love you don't even actually know you. And that feels so unfulfilling. Right. So I'm like, you like me or you don't, like, that's just kind of the way that it is at this point for me. But that concept of like, do it for you, but do it for her too, is such a driving force for me, because I truly do believe that every single one of us is gifted a unique vision and goals for our life that aren't going to look like anybody else's. But that being said, I know there's women that I'm inspired by who I feel like have paved the way, of shown me, what's possible in their marriages or in their health or in their businesses or whatever, that I'm so grateful for. Cause I'm like, gosh, you're showing me what's possible. Thank you so much. I also recognize that someone's looking at me thinking the same thing. Someone's looking at you, listening in, thinking the same thing. People are listening to you, Tony, because they feel that way about you, right? Where it's like, you're inspired by other people, but I just believe in this, like, essentially like a ripple effect, that you are supposed to show up with the things that you deem as your flaws or things that you're insecure about, to show other people that can connect with you, that cannot connect with the person that you're inspired by, because they don't see themselves in that person. They see themselves in you. That you can inspire them. So I just feel like it's our job, especially as women, who I talk to women all the time. And I know so many women listen to your podcast, but it's just, I feel like as women, that's part of our jobs here, is to figure out, if you want to be the most killer stay-at-home mom ever and make the best freaking peanut butter cookies known to mankind, and you want to freaking, I don't know, build a spaceship, and you want to, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Anything that you want to do, somebody needs to see you do it. Because then you're living, breathing proof of what's possible for them too. And it's like, if we all take that responsibility, it feels like the perfect amount of weight, right? It doesn't feel so heavy and crippling, but it feels really just fueling to me, because I'm like, I have this vision on my heart. I'm like, I'm going to go do it. It's because I know somebody else is watching me, saying if she can do it, I can do it too.
100%. So going off of that, and then before, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do think it would be helpful for people who might be feeling like, okay, they have this vision on their heart. We kind of talked about how we can start and then we stop. What are some tips you have for someone who really that's ready to kind of play full out? That's like, really, it's like, okay, I'm really going to do this. What are some things that you advise them to do to get started?
Number one, you have to actually call your shot on it, because I think a lot of times we keep our dreams inside and we don't want to say them out loud because we're worried what somebody else's feedback is going to be. Make sure that you tell the person that's not going to talk you out of it, because we need to get you some skin in the game. Right. So it's first just unapologetically calling your shot. And that is going to feel so freaking scary for some people, because they're not used to doing that. Right. I like to, before I started my podcast, before I even had a name of the podcast, I went on social media and I was like, I'm starting a podcast. And all of a sudden I had skin in the game, because now I had to figure out how to start a podcast. And
because you said it. Yeah. When you say that, was like when I said I was going to write a book. Honestly, if I never put that out in the universe, I probably would have never wrote it. And also too, with the bathing suit, like I actually almost do it on purpose, because I know that it's going to help me see it, whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 2 years from now, next year, whatever. It makes you say it out loud, you declare it, something changes inside of you once you put it out in the universe.
100%. And for some people, this might be something where maybe they know, hypothetically, say they want to work with you and they know that they want to work with you. And right now they're listening into this podcast and they're connected with you on social media. And maybe right now, for whatever reason, the time isn't right. Them sliding into your DMs and saying, I am going to reach out to you on this date because that's when I want to start this, is so powerful. I did that to our business mentor, Chris.
I remember you said that. Yes.
For just to give context for anyone listening, I had, prior to my current business, I had a network marketing business and I wanted to start a brand new business. And I wanted it to get to the point that it could earn enough income that I could apply to be in this elite level mastermind, which is where Tony and I met. And I slid into Chris Harder, our business mentor who runs this mastermind, into his DMs. And I was like, just so you know, I'm starting a business. I actually don't even know what it's going to be about, but I'm going to generate enough income that this time next year, I'm going to slide into your DMs and I'm going to apply to be in this mastermind. So buckle up. I told him that I didn't even have a business. I didn't even have a podcast yet. I didn't have a podcast and I didn't have a business, but I was like, in 1 year, my business is going to be earning enough money to be in this mastermind. And it was a $0 business because it was literally not even real yet. But the power of calling your shot is so real, which is why I DM Oprah and ask her to be on my podcast and she doesn't DM me back, but
shut up. Do you?
Yeah.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
So call your shot.
I am proud of you because I literally I've thought about doing it. I've thought about it and I don't. So
there you go. Practice what you preach, girl. Call that shot.
I gotta do that. Yeah. Yes. Oprah. Who else? Like, there's some people out there that I just gotta send.
You got to. So number one, call your shots. You can get skin in the game. Number two, what I think is really powerful is figure out what's one step that you can take in the next 24 hours to get yourself moving in the right direction. So hypothetically, you want to run a half marathon. Most people can't probably run a half marathon tomorrow. I'm sure there's some people that can, but maybe you can find a half marathon and you can sign up for it in the next 24 hours. You can download a training plan, right? You can figure out whatever the goal is, right? So it's calling your shot publicly to get skin in the game and accountability. And then number two, it's figuring out what's the first best step. And it has to be something small that you can do in the next 24 hours. You can slide into someone's DMs. You can sign up for that course. You can, call your shot about something and actually sign up to do it at a later date. Like, it's like, get something to make you feel like you're making a step in the right direction, because direction is more important than speed. We got to get that quick hit that makes us feel like we're making moves in the right direction. And then along with that, it's like, who can you loop in on this vision? It's one difference to call your shot publicly, but who are you around on a regular basis whose opinion you really care about, that you can loop in on what this actually means to you? Because so often we say like, oh, this person doesn't support me I hear this all the time from women in business. Oh, my significant other doesn't get it. He doesn't support me in this, or she doesn't support me in this. And it's like, okay, does that person actually understand what your vision is and why it deeply matters to you and what support actually looks like? Because all of us have different ways that we express support. But if we tell them point blank, this is what support actually looks like, then they can show up. Like, let's give them a layup and let's loop people in. And I think those three things alone are enough to start taking action in the right direction, that then you're going to figure out the rest of it. Because if your why is strong enough of why you actually want to do the thing, the how is literally going to get figured out as you go. But we get caught up in the how, and we sit in analysis paralysis, and we think that we have to wait till we're ready. It's like, you're ready. If you've got that vision, just go. You'll figure it out.
And you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And I love what you just said on your story just now. I was watching your story and you said like, it may or may not happen, but whatever happens is probably going to be better than what you ever expected. Yeah. Like, so if it doesn't work out in the way that you thought, it's because it happened better. Like nothing negative comes from taking action, because you're always going to learn something.
Yes.
Every single time, but like nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you don't do anything, I can promise you nothing's going to happen.
Literally. Well, how often
that's the only guarantee we have. Nothing will happen if nothing happens. If you don't make it happen.
If you sit around and think about it, that's not going to make it fall into your lap.
That's like 100% not happening, whether you take action and maybe 50-50, like, that's all right.
Well, and even how often is it like, if you take action and you don't like it, then at least you know, and that's still important feedback. Totally. Or you take action and it didn't work, then you know one way that didn't work. So you now have actually information to approach it differently the next time. So
100%. Yes. Yeah. Never waste your time as long as it taught you something. I say that in my TED Talk. But anyways, this has been so good. I could literally talk to you all day. Kacia, before you actually tell people where they can find you, just let us know, like, how can somebody, I don't think you work with people one-on-one, right? It's more just like if someone wants to start a podcast, like just, I know people are going to want to connect with you. So, and like work with you in some way, in some capacity, if they can. So just kind of just share what you're doing, how you can help and support those who want to get started on whatever goals that they have.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I love you.
I love you.
So my podcast is called Empower Her Podcast. It's Monday, Thursday, every week. I love Instagram from a social media perspective. So come connect with me there. It's at Kacia, Kacia.Fitzgerald. If you are someone who wants to start a podcast, if you have that idea on your heart, I'm really obsessed with helping women see how simple things can be from a tactical perspective to take action, but also by wrapping everything that we do at my company, SheGoes, is wrapped in community, like having a built-in hype squad as you do that thing, because community is so important. We have a lot of new products coming out for women that are just getting started in business, like on your way to your first 100K. So definitely connect with me on Instagram, come check out the podcast. And yeah, if you're just getting started in business, I got your back, girl. And definitely if you're in the podcasting space, I love helping podcasters.
Yeah, definitely. She's your person for sure. I'm going to put all of those links in the show notes. Before we wrap up, is there any last minute things you want to leave for our listeners, comments, quotes, feedback, anything?
I really want to encourage you to feel proud of yourself for how far that you've come in any way in your life, right? Because you're the one that understands like the path that you took towards getting where you are, and how there were so many times, if you're to even like right now, you're listening to this, if you're just to think back in the last year, there are probably so many things that came up that you're like, I have no idea how the hell I'm going to get through this, right? But here you are on the other side, and you're probably better because of going through that. And so often we don't stop for a second because we're just constantly going through the motions. We've got the goals, we've got the dreams. We're go-getters that listen into podcasts like this. Like we are, but like, damn, look how far you've come. Recognize that. Like you've got the skills to take it to the next level. It's just going to be, how can I get excited about the person that I'm becoming in pursuit of these goals, recognizing that I do have what it takes. I don't think that maybe you have all the resources that you need to get where you want to go, but you definitely have the resourcefulness. It's not a lack of resources in 2022, you know, like it's a lack of resourcefulness. So don't be the only thing standing in your way. If you've got that dream on your heart, it's because it's for you. And you're going to do it. And we're going to be rooting you on. So
we're really, And if you don't feel like you have anyone, I know I'm speaking for Kacia as well. Like if you don't feel like you have anybody that you can you have something on your heart and you don't feel like there's anybody, if you want to shoot your shot and there's no one you feel like you can openly share it with or declare it to, like message us. Actually, that's what I'm going to tell you to do. If listening to this podcast inspired you to take action on something, that I want you to actually tell us, what is the thing that you are shooting your shot for? Like, what is the thing that this podcast has motivated you to do? So I want you to take a screenshot of this episode, tag me, tag Kacia on Instagram. I'll put the links in the show notes so you can tag us and let us know what this inspired you to do. I want you to do it publicly, but if you don't feel comfortable doing it publicly, at least just put that you listen to this podcast and then message us and let us know so that we can follow up with you and cheer you on. I have my word. Whenever I say I'm going to follow up with someone, I literally put something in my calendar to make sure I follow up. So we will follow up.
Definitely.
We will make sure that we if it's starting a podcast, if it's, Kacia's that's her thing. So if you want to start a podcast, definitely reach out to her. But anything, whatever it is, sign up for your half marathon, get out of debt, whatever it is, let us know and we will hold you accountable. And we probably have been through something similar or know someone. We know a lot of different people, especially being in the mastermind that we're in, that can be of service to you, that can give you those resources that maybe you're overwhelmed with the amount of resources because there are tons of them. You want something that you can depend on. We are there for you. So if anything we said here inspired you, let us know. Take a screenshot, tag us on your stories. And yeah, Kacia, thank you so much for being here. This was amazing. This
I
is
love
so
you.
amazing. I love you. I'm so excited that you were here and you had so many nuggets and shared so much wisdom.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. For those listening, make sure you give Kacia a follow. And if you're not subscribed to the Tips with Tony podcast, a new episode comes out every Tuesday and Thursday. So make sure you're subscribed so you can get notified when a new episode comes out. That's all. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.